Therapy session, interview with my psychologist, Dr. Stract. What's the date today? 22 July?
Yes, it is.
2010. It's about 11 a.m. Action. So what's the first thing? Yeah, do we create our fears? What do you say as a psychologist?
Do we create our fears?
Yeah. Do we create fear that we experience?
Well, there's two things that come to mind. One is that fear is something that is built in. When an animal that's potentially going to hurt you comes to you, you immediately feel fear. You feel fear for your life. You feel for your safety. So that's something that's automatic that comes to you. That it's there it is. But there's psychological fear, which is the mind is recreating an image of something that perhaps you were exposed to. For example, let's say you and I were out.
That's a good example. I understand.
Okay.
It's really obvious what you're saying. So, would you say in that case that we create that fear for some reason, or if not consciously, subconsciously?
Yes.
And what's the purpose of it?
Well, you talked about conscious and subconscious. There's also intentional and unintentional. For example, I may have had a run-in with a barking dog that scared me, right?
Uh-huh.
And so thinking about, I'm going to have to walk the same path to get to the store, say, and that dog may be out there. So I'm sitting here thinking about that dog, and is he going to bark at me? Is he going to get out of the cage? Is he going to come after me? So that may be something that I do as a way to prepare myself. It could also be something that I abuse in my own mind by over and over again, putting myself into that situation that may never occur, but it scares me to think about.
Put yourself
it, right?
into that situation in your mind.
Yeah, put myself into that situation.
In your mind.
That's right. So if I do it the first time, it might be to
Why would you do
myself.
that?
That's a good question.
Psychology doesn't know.
There's lots of answers. Freud would say that it's like a repeat of something that it gives you pleasure at some level.
The fear gives you pleasure.
At some level, yeah. And
Freud would say that?
Well, think about somebody that has an obsessive compulsive response to something that might have been an abusive situation, but that it was somehow pleasurable to them.
Like being raped, possibly?
Well,
do you think there are women out there who want to get raped?
Well, I wouldn't comment on that. But
why not? You think that's not politically correct? Why are you afraid?
That, because in a soundbite you can't respond to that, without.
You're afraid I might edit this out of context?
Well, in any event.
Did you hear what happened to Shirley Sherrod?
No.
Oh my God! They foxed her. They totally took out of context what she said, making it appear that she hates white people.
That was the woman from the Department of Agriculture. And she ended up getting fired.
It seems to me that you're just afraid to tell an obvious truth that some women do want to get raped,
I wish I can't comment on that in a short period of time, so.
Yeah, okay. So, all right, so on some level we enjoy the fear. What do you think that might have to do with?
Well, that's just one element of it,
because this is definitely because it seems like I'm kind of maybe a little bit addicted to that, but I think I understand the reason why that is, and pleasure is part of it, but that's not the whole story. So I'm trying to understand, what does psychology think?
All right, so here's another possibility: mastery of the fear. Remember, what I was saying, the first time you recreate that image of the dog who might get out of the yard and bite you, it might be a way of preparing for something. And you know how children, especially boys around the age of 9, they like to watch horror films.
Are you calling me a child secretly?
No. I'm saying that boys at that age, are into fear mastery.
Not only boys, but men.
Men, look at
skydivers.
Yeah, exactly. So the point I'm trying to say.
Why did I go skydiving? Was it for the fear, or?
Well, it could also be the adrenaline rush, man. There's a real rush when it comes to something like that.
Oh, what is adrenaline rush? I thought that was fear.
No, adrenaline's a different thing.
What is it?
Well, it actually makes you feel more powerful.
How about more aware, more alive?
Yeah, it could.
See, that's what it did for me. Food never tasted as good as after I had skydived. You know what I mean? So alive.
So you were feeling very alive, yeah. Excited, alive, every pore was open, every sense was vivid.
My mind was just really, what, open, free.
Well, it's amazing that you can remember that. That was a long time ago.
Well, it was so vivid. I could never forget it. You know what I mean? Skydiving terrified me, you know. And, but I loved just the idea of it. I loved free falling. I loved, you know, oh man. But, so adrenaline, yeah, that's a good, yeah, so I've always not understood adrenaline. I thought that was fear, but yeah, now it makes sense. You know, what happened to me, I didn't describe it very well today, but I wrote about it on my blog. I said that, you know, I was God training, and I was kind of, you know, fearful because I did so horrible yesterday, but I just, like the first game I played, wow, I kicked butt. And, you know, all the games, and now I understand what happened. Yeah, I went so deep into God, I must have had that adrenaline, or I became so alive that it kind of like frightened me for a second, you know what I mean? It's like my vision had gotten like 1,000 times better, but I guess, yeah, it was just, I don't know, I became more aware, more alive or something, you know. But, you know, it's interesting to me that when you told that story about the dog, that you kind of ignored the fact that, you know, I mean, like, why are you going down that street again if that dog is there, right? So, like you said, maybe you're doing it on purpose because you want that fear rush, right?
Could be a lot of things, you know. And of course, if I don't like dogs, I might think of a trap to get the dog killed or something.
Whoa! Where did that come from?
Well, you know, we were talking about all the various things that might pop into your mind, or you know, that you might be thinking about that.
God, that really speaks to our society in my mind, because you know how there's so much phobia about like sex, right? You can't show much sex in a movie, right? But there's all this violence, right? So like, it's okay to talk about killing a dog, but it's not okay to talk about isn't it true that, well, it's not okay to talk about how some women want to get raped, right? See, I'm an existentialist, and I guess, and I haven't totally made up my mind, right? But that's part of the story, right? I don't want to tell the whole story, but like, you know, I think that everything that happens to you is because, yeah, like you said, on some level you want it to happen to you. What do you think?
You know, I think it would be hard to argue that you want some things to happen to you that are just happening pretty much randomly.
Really? Like, I even think like some women, I was thinking this on the way over, I think, that some women might want to get killed by a serial killer just for that fear rush. You know what I mean?
Well, there's examples of people doing all sorts of things that, you know, where they end up getting killed in the process as a way to get pleasure, you know?
Like skydiving, right?
We've heard about people that use asphyxiation as a form of getting...
Wow, man. So did they have a secret death wish or whatever? You know?
Yeah, or do they just go too far and they you know... So, it's amazing, yeah.
So
things are pretty complex about
yeah,
like that.
I still think from what you told me that psychology is missing. Well, I don't know. You know, like, oh yeah, I was reminded earlier, like, you know how they used to say if you got emotion, you should let it out. They stopped saying that after they heard me on the radio let out their emotion. Then they were all of a sudden like, whoa, 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 no, maybe you shouldn't let out the emotion, right? And then they started talking like about how there are anger addicts, right? Just like drug addicts, right? You think it's obvious you think that's the case, right? Some people are addicted to anger.